Okay. Thank you for joining us today for this workshop, Staying Active, Ages and Stages, presented by Carrie Davidson, Fitness Manager at Health and Wellness, and sponsored by Elder Care Work-Life Wellbeing at the University of Kentucky. Carrie, would you like to introduce yourself and get started?
Sure. I'm Carrie Davidson. I'm the fitness manager here at UK for the Health and Wellness Program. I have been at UK for 19 years. That means I started when I was 10. And I'm happy to present this workshop to you today, Staying Active and Fit. Regardless of where you are in this thing we call life, there is a program for you, right? There's somewhere that you need to be, some goal that you want to probably achieve. And that looks different for everybody. So hopefully we'll hit on some of the big ones today that resonate with you. So thanks for having me for this workshop, and I apologize for the technical difficulties at the very beginning. This is what we're going to go through today. I will give you the ACSM guidelines, which you have probably heard, but I am going to give you the specific ones for the older adult population. We'll talk about what kind of movements are appropriate as we start to age and get older, and the effects of aging set in, and then some really specifics on some different stages of life. I'll provide some resources for you at the end, and then like Hazel mentioned, these slides will be available to you. I'll give them to her to send out when she sends out the recording link. So there will be some time for some questions definitely at the end. So feel free to put those in the chat, and then as I get toward the end of the presentation, I'll work my way through the chat and answer your questions. Or at that time, once we're done recording, you can unmute and ask questions that you may have. So let's start out with strength guidelines. Now, why did I start out with the strength guidelines? Because as we age, several things happen, as you all probably know. One of the things that we lose is our strength. And it's true, if you don't use it, you lose it. So, your activities of daily living when you're maybe raising kids or building a house or building your career, the activities of your daily living then look different than the activities of daily living in our more adult years. And so strength training becomes very, very important. It's important when you're young, but it becomes even more important as we age because we want to stay independent as long as possible, or at least I want to stay independent as long as possible. And I work with clients all the time in some different stages and who definitely cannot stay by themselves, who have to have some help. So that's one of the goals that I have for myself as I get into the older years. So at least 2 days a week, that's the ACSM guidelines for strength training. And for healthy adults, that's 8 to 12 reps. For older or frail individuals, that's 10 to 15 reps. So here's the difference between healthy adults and older or frail. If you have no chronic conditions, or if you have a chronic condition that is well managed with whatever medication, therapy, whatever it is that you're using, that puts you in this healthy adult category. If you have some chronic conditions that are out of control, or if you have an acute condition, you've fallen, you've hurt your shoulder, you've had a surgery, a knee replacement, etc., or you are in the medically diagnosed frail category, that is what is going to stick you into that 10 to 15 rep range. So 8 to 12 for healthy adults, 10 to 15 for older or frail. And the difference is the load that we're going to put on those repetitions. So we want to hit major muscle groups, which is going to give us about 8 exercises. I usually go with 6, but 6 to 8 exercises. This is up to 10. That's the ACSM guidelines to target the major muscle groups. So major muscle groups are our big muscles that help us move our body around in space. So we're talking about the fronts of the legs, the backs of the legs, the abdominal region, your back, your shoulders, and chest. Those are our major muscle groups, generally speaking. And we isolate some of them, and most of the time we work in a more compound manner, and I'm going to explain that here in just a second. So major muscle groups, and at least twice a week. Really, 3 times a week is better, but at least twice a week. So we know that strength training helps to build bone density. A force against the resistance is what builds bone density, along with all those building blocks like calcium and vitamin D. So it all plays a role in there together, but strength is definitely something that we lose as we age, especially if we don't use it. So if we quit lifting heavy things, we won't be able to lift heavy things. The cardiovascular guidelines are pretty much the same for healthy adults as older adults. 30 minutes of moderate activity 5 days a week, or you get the same health benefits, 20 minutes of vigorous activity 3 days a week. So either way, you can do it. Now, what's going to put you in the moderate category versus the vigorous category is how you feel, and again, if you have conditions. So if you have a chronic condition that says you cannot do vigorous activity, that you can't get your heart rate up that high, then you don't want to do the 20 minutes vigorous. You want to do the 30 minutes moderate. If you're generally healthy, you don't have any bone or joint problems, if your conditions are well managed, then you could do either one. So that's going to be a little bit more on personal preference. And again, once we get to the stages toward the back side of this presentation, I'll explain that just a little bit more. And then flexibility. Again, this is one that if we don't use it, we lose it. If you quit lifting your arms up over your head, you won't be able to lift your arms up over your head. Right? If you don't move a joint through its fullest complete range of motion, you'll lose the ability to do it. And so we want to make sure that we're stretching our muscles and moving our joints through the fullest range of motion that we comfortably can for about 30 seconds, 3 times. And you can do this every day. As many days as possible is usually what I write in for people's exercise prescription. As many days as possible. And that can look like a lot of different things. This can look like a yoga class. This could look like a chair yoga class. This could look like sitting and stretching in the evening time before bed, in the bed. It can look like a lot at work, in the office, standing up, sitting down. It can look like a lot of different things, depending on your preferences, but also depending on what fits into your lifestyle. So those are the 3 areas that ACSM puts out guidelines. So cardiovascular exercise, strength exercise, and flexibility mobility. Those are the 3 modes. So let's talk about the things that you do every single day. And this would be things that most of us do every single day. And when I said at the beginning, I want to stay as independent as possible, as long as possible, these are the things that I'm talking about. I want to be able to do that on my own as long as I possibly can. I have had to be a caretaker before for frail grandparents before they passed. And this is a really hard experience as a granddaughter giving a grandmother her bath. So I want to be able to do that on my own as long as possible. I want to be able to go down the stairs and up the stairs as long as I possibly can. Every week I have one errand that I have to run that has 2 flights of stairs. And so I make it a point to park far away and to take the stairs up and down as fast as I can when I go run the same errand every single week. I sit at my desk like I am right now, like some of you probably are right now. And I want to be able to continue to stay active at work as long as I can. So I want to be able to continue to do that. I want to be able to take care of my pets, whether that's walking the dog or feeding the dog or taking the dog to the vet, whatever that looks like for you. I actually have a cat, not a dog, but whatever that looks like for you, I want to be able to do that. I want to drive, right? I want to be able to turn my head and look over my shoulder and have a quick reaction time. I want to be able to do that as long as I can. I want to be able to take care of myself, right? Hygiene, I want to be able to do that by myself. Taking care of my home, so sweeping, mopping, vacuuming, lifting things. I even move furniture around, right? We probably all have done that at some point. I want to continue to be able to do those things as long as I possibly can. I open doors, pushing them. I pull doors and close them. I dig in the garden, probably not as often as I should. I got some weeds to pull right now, but planting flowers and vegetables, pulling weeds, that kind of thing. I want to be able to do these things as long as I possibly can. So when it comes to exercise and fitness and staying active in the stages of life that are, I'm going to say 50 and above, part of what we're doing is training for the life that we have. I'm training to do these things. Even though I'm not at that age yet, I still want to be able to do these things as I continue to go 50 plus. And that, go to the bathroom by myself. I want to be able to do those things. So one of the main things that I want to be able to do is stay functional. All of those things, those activities of daily living on that white slide before this, those are all very functional things that help me move about my day and live my life. And so we can do functional movement either in the gym or at home that mimic the things that we do every single day and help us train for life. So that's really what we're talking about, is how do we train for the life that we want to live, right? Training for life. And so these are the 4 that I'm always going to start with because we do these things every single day. And I'm going to show you some pictures of how that comes into play. So functional movements are things that we are going to be doing every day anyway, so we might as well train them. And then compound movements are movements that cover more than one muscle group at a time. So I'm also raising young kids right now. So the more time I can save, the better off I'm going to be. So compound movements where I can get 2 birds with 1 stone is really the best option for me. So these are all functional movements and compound movements. So a squat. Remember the picture of the toilet? I want to be able to do that. Get down and get up and get down and get up, right? I want to be able to sit at my desk. I want to be able to drive in my car. I want to be able to do those things. And so when we talk about training for this stage of life, this really runs from the time you potty train, right, all the way until the time that you are taking your last breath. Squat. That's what this is. You can clearly see the picture on the top left corner. She's in her gym clothes. Maybe she's even at a gym and she's doing a squat. But she's doing the exact same thing that we're doing in all of these other pictures. So squat. Work that into your day. Every time you stand up from your desk, do it 5 times before you take off. Every time you come back to your chair, do it 5 times before you sit down, or the kitchen table, or your living room chair. Anytime that there's a chair involved, do it 5 times before you move up or down. And that just, it can be a little bit of a trigger to remind you to be able to us. We pull doors, or if we bend over at the hips, like this lady on the right, then she's picking up toys. And these are lightweight things. All right, if we're picking up lightweight things, then we can do it like her. I'll show you heavy in just a minute, but lightweight things, we can do it like a row so that we can use the shoulder girdle. If we turned her around, then she looks more like the guy at the rowing machine, right? They're doing the same exact movement, and we want to be able to pull things to us as we move through the life. And then the opposite of pulling things to us is pushing things away from us. So this guy's doing a bench press, but this little guy's also doing that pushing motion. He's pushing something away from him, whether it's a car door or barbell, a swing, a grocery cart. We want to be able to maintain the ability to push and pull. So those are going to be opposites. And then, like I said, if you're picking up something lightweight, like the lady was picking up toys, then you can use a bent over row motion. But if you're going to pick up something heavy, like this barbell this he has here, or a child, or a box, or a bag of mulch, or dog food, or cat food, or whatever it is that you're doing, if you want to be able to pick up heavy things, you have to train to pick up heavy things, right? So this is more of a deadlift type movement. So we want to be able to continue this movement as we move through. Okay, now let's talk about some stages of life that we may be getting close to or we may be in already. So this first age group, I arbitrarily picked these numbers, so don't feel like you have to be married to these age groups of 55 to 65. This is just what I picked so that I can move through into 3 stages. So maybe you're about to retire, or maybe you already are talking about or doing phased retirement, one of the benefits that we have here at UK. So maybe you're there, or you're getting ready to be there, but you want to be ready for it, right? I always think that retirement should come at the beginning so we can enjoy all of our strength and mobility and cardiovascular health when we're younger, and then work when we're older when we kind of lose those things. But nevertheless, this is the way it works. So we want to be ready for those things. When it comes time, maybe we want to go golfing a couple days a week. Maybe we're still going to the gym. Maybe we play pickleball on a regular basis, or we like to ride bikes or do any number of activities. That's a great place to be. And we want to be able to do that as long as it makes us happy, right? As long as it makes us feel good. So when it comes to those goals that we talked about, those ACSM guidelines at the very beginning of this presentation, the cardiovascular of 20 minutes vigorous or 30 minutes moderate, you could do either one. If your knees feel good, your hips feel good, and you've got the lung capacity, either one of those things is fine, perfectly healthy. When it comes to strength training guidelines, you really could be training for more power of lifting heavy things or more endurance of being able to go for longer periods of time. I'm going to guess this is the age where you're slowly starting to make that switch of moving away from really heavy lifting to doing things that you want to be able to maintain. Like, I want to work in the garden all day long, and I might move rocks, I might pull weeds, I might pick up some mulch, I might carry it across the yard, right? But I'm going to be doing that for several hours. So when it comes to strength training, this could go either direction, but this might be the time that we make the switch. And then flexibility and mobility, we tend to lose it here. So start daily. If you're not already doing some sort of stretching and mobility training, even if you're doing it seated in your chair, now is the good time to get started. Maybe you have the start of a condition, or you've got a chronic condition that you're now managing well, it's under control. So we want to be able to continue to manage those conditions. So that's a great place to be. It's also a great place to step up your game. The next one, again, I just arbitrarily picked these numbers, 65 to 75. So you might be in between some of them, that's fine. So you probably are already retired or getting really close to it if you haven't already. Maybe you want to travel now. Maybe you've got some grandkids that live far away, or your older adult children that live further away. Maybe you're ready to explore some new places, knock some things off your bucket list. You want to walk around a new city, or maybe bike around a new city. You want to be able to catch a plane on time, to stay healthy as you travel and stay well. So these might be some things that you're doing in this stage of life. So in this stage, we're really talking more about cardiovascular exercise that's more moderate, right? There's not necessarily a reason to be vigorously running or vigorously riding a bike. We want to be able to maintain a moderate walk, to walk around the city or to get through the airport, right? So that's the cardiovascular goal really that we're looking for in this stage or age. And then strength training, again, we're probably not lifting heavy things, right? If your son needs to move a piano, it's probably not calling you when you're 70 to come move a piano. Maybe, that would be awesome. But you still might want to be able to go grocery shopping and take your groceries in all by yourself and put your groceries away, and then maybe go work in the yard for an hour or two, right? That's more of an endurance strength training plan where you're lifting moderately heavy things. You're lifting your suitcase. You're lifting up a 12 pack or a 24 pack of waters so that you can still maintain your independence, but you can maintain a little bit of strength. And then again, flexibility, mobility daily. You're going to see this from me every single time, because if we don't use it, we lose it. If you quit raising your arm to put on deodorant and bringing your hands over your head, you won't be able to do those things. So keep moving everything as much as you possibly can move it. And again, maybe you're still managing conditions, or maybe some new conditions that are coming on that you're having to incorporate that bit of your wellness into your routine. And so this is where we are. These are the things that are going to be important to us. Now, this last stage that I put on here is 75 plus, right? So hopefully we're doing this till we're 90, 95, but maybe we're fully retired. I hope so by now at 75 and older. I hope that we're fully retired. And then maybe you're going to some group fitness classes. Maybe you're going to Silver Sneakers. Maybe you're going to some yoga or chair yoga. like this guy over here on the bottom right corner. Maybe your mobility isn't like you'd like it to be, but that doesn't mean you can't still be active, right? There's chair yoga for wheelchairs. This guy in the wheelchair is playing basketball. There's lots of things that you can still do, even if you are in a seated position. Or maybe you're working one-on-one with a trainer or a therapist, maybe for something to maintain your mobility and your strength. So the strength that we're talking about here is really to be able to take care of yourself in your activities of daily living. That's really what we're talking about here, so that you can do the laundry, you can get the groceries, you can make your own food, you can take care of your own hygiene, and do those things with strength and mobility and balance. So the thing that comes into play here is balance. If we haven't started that already, you can go ahead and start it at this age. So you can see that she's working on core strength, she's working on balance, she's working on mobility. So there's a lot of things that we can still do at this age to maintain all of our things, our cardiovascular, our strength, and our flexibility and mobility. So staying independent as long as possible is really the goal. And keep the strength that you do have to be able to take care of yourself. It's a lot easier to maintain strength once we've built it than to try to build it up once we're at this age. So if we can continue to have that at that 55, when we go back to that first slide, right, when we started these stages, if you're starting to build it there, that's a great time to get started if you haven't already. Get started, and then when you're here, you'll be able to maintain that strength a whole lot easier. It'll take a whole lot less work to be able to do that. I want to give you a couple of resources here because I know people are different. Everybody is unique. And so Matt and Chad and I all do consults, exercise consults. Those are private one-to-one consults. You can do them with me over Zoom or in person or over the phone or email with Matt, with Chad, like that too. And so if you do maybe have a newly diagnosed condition and this is all new to you, then we're happy to help you figure out what your routine should look like, what things you should be doing and what things are okay to let go of. Maybe you haven't thought about balance yet, but it's one of the things that starts to go as we age. When we lose our eyesight, we lose our hearing, balance usually goes with those because those two sensory inputs go away with it. So we can work with you on any of those conditions, whether it's related to aging or not. We're happy to do that. We also offer memberships. So we have a lot of retirees who utilize our resources, right? Move Well, our fitness center, the memberships there are for employees and spouses and retirees and spouses. And so the beautiful thing about being a retiree at Move Well is that you can pick the time of day that's the least busy, right? So like people who are still working or coming over at lunch or before work or coming in after work. But as a retiree, maybe you've got the flexibility in your schedule to be able to come in at a non-peak time. So you can come in at 10 or 10:30 and just get right in and do all the things that you need to do and get right back out again. And you don't have to worry about a big crowd there or parking. So that's a great thing. But retirees can be members at MoveWell, just like employees can be members at MoveWell. We do offer personal training, and that is at MoveWell. So you can do that if you're a retiree too, or a retiree spouse. Dawn and Chad are both taking personal training clients right now. So the first intro package is a 3-session intro, and it's $65 to do personal training. So if you need some one-on-one guidance, more than just that one-time consult with me or Matt, then you can sign up for personal training as long as you're a MoveWell member. And we do that at Export Street. So all of those are good options. So memberships, consults, training. And then as long as you are already active, then we do have the incentivized program called MoveWell Rewards that incentivizes you just for walking. So if you're wearing a device that measures your steps, or you have a phone that measures your steps, then we do draw 15 winners every month for extra cash. So I usually say, because I'm usually giving this presentation or presentations in general to employees, so cash on your check. But as a retiree, we actually cut you a check and send it to your house. So you actually get cash back if you're one of those 15 every single month for mobile rewards. So those are just some options to help motivate you, to give you a little bit of accountability, some guidance, some education, some training on how to continue to stay active as you get older. The QR code there goes to our website to sign up for things. So just like you signed up for this presentation, you can sign up for any of these other programs as well.